Hello, I'm the Who Guy and welcome back to a very special video where today we are going to be reviewing Lucky Day. Yes, episode 4 of season 2. And yeah, this season is a lot better than season 1 already. I can say that for a fact now. I think especially these last 3 episodes I have really enjoyed, and this one I really enjoyed too. So we're going to go through the good, we're going to go through the bad, and I'm going to give you my overall opinions at the end. And if you're not subscribed already, go down below and subscribe. Loads of Doctor Who videos on this channel to watch. And like the video if you enjoy the review. Let's get straight into Lucky Day. So starting with the good things that I liked about this episode, and I've got to say, most of it I liked. I've only got a few nitpicks once again. I really wish these episodes were part of last season, because this season 2 is so much stronger, and I feel like people like the American audience that might have just been starting to watch Doctor Who on Disney Plus, they didn't really have the strongest first season to watch, so maybe they've gone away from it. And I think this season is so much better. I think it's giving me Russell T Davies vibes from his original era. Yeah, I'm just really excited to watch Doctor Who. And that intro to Conrad, where we see the Doctor and Belinda come out the TARDIS in 2007. I quite like that. It set up the episode very, very well, I thought. And the whole mum scene where he literally gets slapped by her, that is crazy. So you can see the toll that has happened in his life. That has kind of made him this really just despicable human at the end of the day. Ncuti's costume, like, that was cool. I don't mind that kind of Sherlock Holmes look for him either. And as we progressed through the episode, we had that whole podcast section. I thought that was all dealt well. And really, this whole episode felt modern. It did feel like a Doctor Who episode, but it also felt like something else that we would see from a modern show nowadays, with the inclusion of social media and just the whole podcast scenes. I thought that was integrated really well into this episode. And it wasn't too far into the modern technology that I think older people wouldn't understand. So I think that was really used well. And on rewatch, I've already rewatched this episode, that I saw hints with Conrad being this kind of questionable person. You kind of look back and think, oh yeah, he was asking some weird questions to Ruby. And of course, we had Ruby back. Now, the cast in this was fantastic. Of course, we get the unit cast, we'll get into that a bit later. But the two main characters, Conrad and Ruby Sunday, they both smashed it out of the park. Ruby, of course, once again, fantastic. It was great to see her back with the Doctor. We got that little mini adventure. And it does make me wish we had more of Ruby and the Doctor, because I think one season wasn't enough for them. But to see them back again together was really cool, even that it was such a small scene. And Conrad, it's got to be one of the best performances from an actor in a long time from Doctor Who. I was really invested in the relationship between him and Ruby. I thought it was believable. He was believable. And then that turn, that villainous turn that he had midway through the episode was just fantastic. I wasn't expecting it. I hope you guys at home weren't. I just really enjoyed his character. It wasn't like he didn't have any motives towards his actions. You kind of understood why, but you still hated him so much. And I think the actor, forget his name, but he did a fantastic job, and we might see him again return in the future. I think this episode had a nice spooky tone, especially at the start of the episode, where we had that monster shriek, which I thought looked amazing. Looked something out of like a Marvel or Star Wars film, like really high budget, so they did fantastic with that. And it was a nice creepy villain, and the whole spooky turn, it kind of reminded me of 73 Yards. And then we got into a more of a real serious episode during the end. But I thought the monster was cool, and I would love a figure character options. As you can see, my shelves are bare because I'm redoing my collection, but I would love a figure character. Please. And we got like hints of other monsters in this episode. We got the Autons in the department store, the same department store that Rose worked in, so that was really cool. And we got the mention of Yeti, Cybermen, and some other monsters, so that was really cool. I love it when Doctor Who just picks a bit from its history and adds it into the episodes. And that whole world building of the Doctor Who universe, you know, sometimes we get the human population remembering monsters, and then sometimes we don't. And it looks like we are going down the route of they remember the Cigarettes, the Daleks, the Cyberman, even the Yeti. Like, we get that in this episode, so I much prefer that when this whole Doctor Who is like this universe where humans don't forget what has happened in the past. Of course, you're going to have that conspiracy theory of, was it fake, is it real? But just to get the mention of it is really good for the world building of Doctor Who, and it just makes it one big cohesive universe, and with spin-offs happening soon as well, you know, it's just teasing that too. And this whole episode was quite political as well. We had the mention of taxes a lot in this episode, and that maybe the government have been funding UNIT. So all of that in this Doctor Who episode was fantastic, and it's quite realistic to what would actually happen if Doctor Who was real. UNIT was actually in real life. But UNIT, as ever, was fantastic. We got all of the main cast pretty much except from Morris back in this, so that was wonderful. Colonel Ibrahim, we got Kate Stewart, and of course Ruth Madley's character. And there was a moment where Conrad had a go at Ruth Madley, and that was dark. Of course, the unit building looks stunning as ever. We get some more inside looks at the unit building itself, like where they store the monsters. We get the main room as ever and the Vlinks. But the one that really shined in this episode has to be Kate Stewart. I love Kate Stewart, and she was quite dark in this episode, but I quite like that route for her. She was getting triggered by Conrad, especially the mentions of her dad. We see the extended relationship with her and Ibrahim, and I just want so much more, and I think we're going to get more in that unit spin-off. I hope this unit spin-off is very, very similar to what this episode was like, because I absolutely love this episode. And just a more darker tone for Doctor Who like this episode. It really worked well. I hope it worked for you guys. And the relationship between Kate and Ruby, I thought that was really nice, seeing that Kate always has relationships with the previous Doctor companions. Of course, we've got the mention of Mel being in Sydney, so where's that going to lead? But with Ruby especially, Kate saying basically, you can call me anytime, I really like that. And the whole Ruby Sunday being affected by the Doctor and the travelling with him really is something we haven't really seen from companions, this kind of post-traumatic side to the companions of what they've been through, and this episode delves deep into that, the kind of shock, the PTSD, all of that in this episode was worked really, really well. I want to see more of it, and to have a whole episode pretty much focused on it was fantastic. It's nice to see that, yeah, it would affect a person going into space and seeing aliens and seeing your world being turned to dust, and it just makes sense that you're not going to be the same when you come back. And then, of course, we got the scene of Conrad turning bad, which has to be one of my favourite scenes in the episode. Wasn't expected with his friends as well. You just wanted to punch him in the face 50 times. They were just despicable, especially towards Ruby. And the way Conrad was to her, calling her a child, a crybaby, a liar, and everything she's gone through. And to be just getting absolutely hammered, that was just, oh, you just wanted to punch him in the face. I think he did really well, especially being this kind of villainous monster, but being human, and some humans are monsters, as you probably know, and he was definitely one of those. The whole conspiracy against UNIT and taxpayers' money, I really like this concept. It's something that really hasn't been explored in Doctor Who, and this episode explored it, and I thought it worked really well. That whole setup with the guys dressed in the costume worked really well in this episode. Thought the Shriek was going to be the main monster in this episode, but really it was Conrad. Some news reporters back again. We got Trinity Wells, got the One Show, even the Masked Singer I think was in it at one point. Just more world building, loads of world building in this episode, and nice inclusion once again, and I love Trinity Wells is back. Infiltration scene into UNIT was worked really well, having an inside man. That was really cool, this kind of organisation trying to disrupt the world. They were trying to infiltrate UNIT, prove a point with their cameras, especially in that gun scene. Was he actually going to kill someone, shoot someone? Was the monster going to attack him? And of course it did, and that was a great scene. And he still didn't even believe it when they tasered the monster, and then he got bit in the arm, and I think maybe he might believe it now. I love the way it was resolved at the end. Halfway through the episode, that I wanted so much more from this episode. I think it was wrapped up really well, and not quickly at all, really. I think the way Kate was just on edge and just trying to get this guy to believe that aliens were real. Maybe she did take it too far. Of course, Ibrahim did tell her off at the end, so that was quite funny. Really great. And of course, we got that ending scene where the Doctor comes and takes Conrad into the TARDIS, and that whole scene in the TARDIS, oh my word. That's what I want to see from Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor. This more serious, gritty Doctor, the one that does the speeches just like Capaldi and all the other previous Doctors have done. Less of the kind of honey and bubbly Doctor. Of course, he can still be a bubbly Doctor, but the serious side we don't get enough of, and to see Ncuti like that was what I want him to be as a Doctor. And it's one of my favourite scenes of him so far in the Doctor role. Music as well during that scene was excellent. It kind of links why Belinda knows who the Doctor kind of was and the TARDIS kind of was, because it looks like Conrad obviously blew this up and Belinda probably saw it in the news or whatever, because we see that the Doctor hasn't met Belinda by this point. It wraps that bit up, so I quite like that. Of course, we get Mrs. Flood, who actually kind of did psych in this episode, which was release Conrad into the wild. Is he going to be working for Mrs. Flood? Is he going to come back? I hope so. I think he's a fantastic villain. Reminds me of the kind of Trump guy from the Revolution of the Daleks and how he was and how he cropped up again. I think this one works a bit better than that, and I really hope he comes back. I don't know what role he'll play, but he might be back at the end of this season. So loads of good, lovely episode. It's great to see Doctor Who really hitting the high numbers with this one, and I just hope the general public like it just as much as me. Into the bad section. Well, once again, there's not too much bad about this season, is there? I've only got a couple of nitpicks. The first one, it was a Doctor-like episode. I think it worked because of that, but I'm just really frustrated. We only get 8 episodes a season, and one of them doesn't even have the Doctor in, so it feels like we barely know this Ncuti Doctor, and he's in his 2nd season. It doesn't really damage the episode for me, but it's just the actual thinking that, yeah, we haven't got actually too much left of Ncuti. Of course, if he is leaving at the end of the season. This episode also reminded me of why I wish Ruby was still part of the Doctor's life, because I think they work really, really well, especially that scene in the department store. But again, that's not really to do with this episode as a whole. It's just more of a overarching idea of what like Ncuti's area to be like. One scene that I didn't like in this episode, and that was the unit landing scene in that helicopter. We see how it was kind of shot in Doctor Who Unleashed, but I just thought it looked really cheap and generic and just seemed to be cut wrong. I don't know whether that was me. Comment down below if you agree with me, that section. It just looked really just cheap. I don't know. It wasn't cheap, of course, because they had to rent a helicopter, but it just, the way it was shot just didn't look right to me. And if that's the only bad things I've got to say to this episode, I've got to give it a 9 out of 10. It was one of the best Doctor Who episodes for a long time. Is it better than Lux? It might be. It's very, very close. I'll just say that. I'll probably do a ranking of the whole season at the end of the season. So comment down below what you thought of this episode. I thought this episode was fantastic, and it's just getting me really excited for a unit spin-off in the future. And I did like the serious themes in this episode. Like the video and subscribe as always, and remember to comment down below what you thought of the episode. If I had to say 3 words to describe this episode, it would be conspiracy, exciting, and spin-off. I've been the Who Guy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
UNIT, United Nations Intelligence Task Force, good people.